And call to order the Tuesday, February 16th, 2016 meeting of the Iredell County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I'd ask you to observe a moment of silence for prayer or reflection. If you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't believe there are any adjustments to the agenda for the public session. There are no presentations of any recognitions or awards this evening. The first item on the agenda of substance is appointments before the board, which is a request from the Firemen's Association to waive demolition fees, which is a building standards fee, when conducting live fire training. And Mr. Gary Stiers, Chief of the Statesville Fire Department.
That was quick, so moving right along. First things first, my name is Gary Stiers, Interim Fire Chief with the City of Statesville. Along with me is Mr. Nolan Shoemaker, the Chief of Union Grove Fire Department. And first things first, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank your staff for helping us with this issue. It's not too complex, but it does have a lot of moving parts, so I do want to say thank you to those folks. We are here on behalf of the Iredell County Iredell County Firemen's Association. Basically, during a meeting, we voted to approach you to ask for this fee waiver. Basically, this is to waive the fee for the demolition permit that is required to use live fire to demolish a building. And this would be out throughout Iredell County. To kind of give you some background, when we burn a house has to meet a certain criteria before we can use it. So not every house or dwelling can be burned for live fire training. Matter of fact, there's quite a few regulations. It's one of the most heavily regulated training activities we deal with. There's the National Fire Protection Association standard that we have to go by, EPA, North Carolina Air Quality, where we have to show training value of the structure, and then the demolition permit as well. With the demolition permit, we understand it's required by law and enforced by the county, and that there is a fee of $200 when we do this. So that's what we're asking for, the fee waiver and some help there. And the reason we're asking for it is it would continue to encourage folks to donate their dwellings for us to burn and to train in. And obviously there's a ton of benefits that go along with that. Heaven forbid anybody's house catches on fire, but we do like the opportunity to practice before we have to play. I think you all can understand that, sort of if it was a ball game, I guess you would say. And the other thing is it would eliminate the cost to the homeowner. And obviously some of our fire departments that the county association represents actually pay some of these fees for them to encourage the donation of these dwellings. So in other words, we've got a fire chief that actually pays for asbestos removal, abatement, and actually feels like he should pay for this permit as well. And then sometimes even our instructors will go out of pocket just to pay for it, just so we can get through the process of this, how this is regulated. There is a minor impact to revenue fees. What we have found is that through a misinterpretation, we've not been doing the demolition permit. We now understand that. So if there's some revenue loss, it would be very minimum, because in the past it just simply hasn't been being collected. And then finally, one thing I was concerned about is it wouldn't open the door for everyone to burn a house. meaning that there's a lot of hoops we have to jump through to burn a house. So it's not that every house is going to be burned or the demolition contractor would look for us to get them that little benefit. It still would meet all that criteria and all that scrutiny. So it would be pretty fair, pretty tight on who can still burn. I don't think it would increase our structures, but I think it would be just a good effort to continue to encourage what's currently going on. Mr. Niblock is on board as well. Staff has been very gracious with us and trying to get through with this process, so I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Any questions from Chief Stiers? Mr. Smith, if you could just summarize our building standards staff response.
Yes, I had a conversation with Lynn Niblock, who is our Director of Development Standards, and Lynn sees no problem with going away or allowing the fee to be waived in these circumstances. As Chief Stiers mentioned, there have been situations in the past where the $200 has not been collected for whatever reason. He does not want that to be a deterrent to getting those permits. So that, and as well as it being basically for a public purpose through largely volunteer departments, he sees no problem with that, nor does administration.
Are there any comments or questions from members of the board? I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, I would make a motion we approve this request. I think the public benefit is self-apparent, and it'd have a very negligible impact on the revenues coming into the inspections department. So I'd offer that motion.
Motion duly made by Commissioner Johnson to approve the request. Any further comment? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Thank you, Chief Stiers, and all of our volunteer departments as well. This is just a good example of one hand of the public washing the other, because there's mutual benefit, and what you bring to the table every day and every evening is much appreciated.
All right. Well, thank you for the consideration.
We'll now move on to item 7, public hearing and approval for the issuance of not to exceed $125 million of Public Finance Authority education revenue bonds. And our finance officer, Susan Robertson, will educate everyone as to what the county is not borrowing.
That's right. Thank you. This public hearing has been scheduled and advertised to hear comments in respect to the financing of educational facilities with the proceeds of tax-exempt bonds to be issued by the Public Finance Authority, a commission organized under provisions of Wisconsin statutes. The authority proposes to issue $125 million, or not to exceed $125 million. The proceeds of the revenue bonds will then be loaned from the authority to the North Carolina Charter Educational Foundation, a North Carolina nonprofit, and a 501c3 corporation, Red Apple LLC, Red Apple at Langtree Upper LLC, and Red Apple at Red Apple at Langtree LLC, each of which are Florida limited liability corporations. The borrowers will use $62.5 million in Iredell County to finance the acquisition, construction, equipping, and other capital costs for the Langtree project, the Langtree Upper School project, and the Iredell Charter Academy in Troutman. The remaining $62.5 million will be used in Cabarrus County to finance charter educational facilities there. These are not obligations of Iredell County. Iredell County is not issuing the bonds. We are not pledging the faith and credit. They are not counted as part of our authorization for bonds or count towards our debt limitation. But because they are considered tax-exempt private activity bonds, the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act of 1982 requires the county or the governing body within the location of where these schools will be built to approve these bonds.
Thank you, Ms. Robertson. Any questions of Ms. Robertson? Okay. Hearing none, I will open the public hearing. There is no one to my knowledge that has signed up to be heard, but I will canvass the audience of attendees to see if there is anybody who would like to be heard. I would also like to recognize Mr. Brandon Lofton, who is the attorney representing the applicant. So just to say thank you for being here, to be willing to answer any questions that might have come up. But I don't think you're going to have any questions.
Well, a couple he may not know the answer to. I may be getting, well, I'm sure I'm getting a little bit out of your field. You have any idea what it costs you folks to build a school building per square foot? Is in any of your conversation you ever heard that mentioned?
I don't know the cost per square foot for these projects.
Okay. Just always, you know, if anybody associated with these folks would be able to tell me if I were to ask them?
I'm not sure if we have those
Just
figures
be an
yet.
interesting point of comparison in my mind.
Yeah.
Well, along that line of inquiry, do you know whether or not specific standards for, other than general building standards, but are there specific building requirements that are communicated from the Department of Public Instruction concerning minimum requirements for the buildings that you design? I see some head nods, yes.
Does that come from the DPI? Y'all adhere pretty close to those? You adhere pretty close to those standards? Well, good. We don't do it anymore, but I'm glad y'all do. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. Didn't mean to trouble you. Just thought
Not a problem. Thank
might
you.
gain a little education here. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the notice that was published invited people who had comments to submit them to me. I received no comments.
Thank you, Mr. Pope. There being no one wishing to be heard, I will close this public hearing and entertain a motion or any further discussion. Is there a motion?
Motion approved, Mr. Chairman.
A motion by Commissioner Robertson. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Smith, if you would please summarize the matters on the consent agenda under Administrative Matters, Section 8.
Yes, sir. The first item is a request from Solid Waste for approval of a 3-year contract with Fleetmatics to install GPS on their on-road vehicles or in their on-road vehicles. A request from the Sheriff's Office for approval of Budget Amendment Number 26 for federal equity sharing funds to replace their interview room video system. Request from the Sheriff's Office for approval of a 4-year MOU with the Division of Employment Security for online access. A request from Finance to approve the high bid received for 1617 Wedgedale Avenue in Statesville. Request from Facility Services for approval of a contract for an emergency communications center consultant for the proposed public safety complex, and that's with Mission Critical Partners. Request for from Tax Administration for approval of the refunds and releases, and request for approval of the February 2nd, 2016 minutes.
Is there any further discussion relating to the items placed on the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion duly made by Vice Chairman Norman. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. We have the announcement of one vacancy on the Iredell Historic Properties Commission. The longtime chairman, Louis Alexander, has resigned after many years of faithful service, and so we will be entertaining any applications. If you'll go on the county website, you can find that and gather information about what the Historic Properties Commission does. And we will, we have applicants, then we will have a announcement of that and approval in open session 2 weeks from now. Is there any unfinished business? Any new business? Mr. Smith, if you would please share with us the county manager's report.
Okay, I'm going to pass down, and I've turned these opposite ways, so you have a blue folder and a handout on the front. And those, that is information for you to take with you. Included in that information is school data that was given to me after the retreat this last weekend from both Mooresville Graded and Iredell Statesville, so that's to read at your leisure. The first page is basically a facilities study or the first package, I guess, is a facilities study that is required from Mooresville Graded School District, and I believe the same is going to be required from Iredell Statesville. They dropped that off today and asked that the board review that when you can. There's a statement on the front that states that the board has taken a look at it. Does not necessarily mean endorsement, but the board has reviewed it and understands the report. And it is pretty self-explanatory. I can help you with it if you have questions, or Todd Black with Mooresville. But there is a place for the signature of the chairman and myself saying that we have received this report. So at some point, I'll be getting with you, Mr. Chairman, to get your signature.
Yeah, are they on a specific timeline? Submitted?
As soon as possible. I think that the actual deadline has passed. Couldn't get a meeting with their board, so as soon as we can get it, they need it back.
Okay, well, I would ask commissioners to review at your leisure, and then if there's issues, to communicate those to Mr. Smith, who can share them with all of us as a body, and then follow up with Mooresville Graded School District for any clarification or additional information.
Okay, the second thing that I have, a quick jail update, jail construction update, and I won't give you these every meeting, but just to let you know, as we get started on this, there's a good bit of surveying going on site. There's some requirements that the architect had for the county to complete prior to them beginning their work, and we are in the middle of doing that. So surveying, geotechnical, flow tests with the city, things of that nature. So we're getting that together, and then they will be able to begin in earnest at that point. I will say that the house on Harold Street is in that we use for some of the jail personnel, and a couple of other, or at least one other user, is in the process of being vacated. We're 99% sure that we'll have to take that house down. So decided with the jail staff to go ahead and vacate. They're going to now be in the crime lab building, and we're working on the other tenant now. Something has gone out officially, I believe it was yesterday, so that they'll know today or tomorrow. So we're working on that. So that's going to be possibly an area that we might gain a little bit of parking or staging area as this goes on. Wanted to let you know we opened an hour late today because of the ice, and when I get up at 5 usually and call Ecom, and they hear me barely legible or able to speak at 5 in the morning, I always appreciate the folks behind the scenes in Ecom, Sheriff's Office, EMS, the folks that have to work when a lot of us are in bed, and a lot of us get another hour to sleep in potentially. So thank you to them and all the other departments that have to do that. And also, the last thing, thankful to you all. Good retreat this weekend. I was very pleased. I thought we got good direction from the board, and my appreciation.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any comments any of the commissioners would like to make relative to any of the business before the commission today or from the retreat? Hearing none, is there need to note for the record that a closed session on economic development pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318 11A4 was conducted at the pre-agenda meeting, and no action is taken on that matter. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We adjourn.